Every day, thousands of people drive along this road in Sheffield. But what most don't realise is this used to be a canal. And not just any canal, a vital industrial arm that helped power Sheffield's industrial growth. Hi there, welcome to another episode, Lost Waterways of South Yorkshire. Now, this series so far has all been concentrating on the Dearne and Duff Canal and Barnsley canals, but we've got something very interesting within Sheffield to show you today. Got Calvin from Hidden Sheffield back with me. Morning, Calvin.
Morning.
Got some Wobbly Runner merch.
Oh, someone sent it to me for Christmas.
Oh, dearie me, there we go, eh? Only available from the official Wobbly Runner store. Though, I have been told somebody's selling them in Crystal Peaks Market. Knockoffs.
How much are they?
They're just a tenner. I'll leave the link on the screen, you know. What we're looking at today then, something called the Greenland Arm. And it was part of the original Sheffield and Tinsley Canal setup.
As lost as you can get, but vital.
Yeah.
1819 when the canals opened. This is quite a common story for this sort of for transport links, but the landed gentry interest.
Yeah.
This was the Earl Fitzwilliam's family's mining area.
Oh, right,
so this is the rival to the Duke of Norfolk's, where we've been before up at Manor and Park. And basically, because it had to cross the land of these interests, part of the price was that a branch goes off it, like it would a railway, to facilitate accessing the Tinsley Park pits that were just off to the to our side here.
We'll go and investigate what actually remains of this arm, because it may be a little bit slim pickings, but there's some things we can pick out. Actually, while we're stood up here, we've got a great vantage point just on the... If you don't know where this is, we might be jumping the gun here, Calvin. We're just behind Sheffield Arena, look. Can you see Sheffield Arena there? We've got Sheffield Supertram just down there, and it's curving its way around to Meadowhall, and then the Sheffield and Tinsley Canal just below us there. And just over there, look, we'll go down there and have a closer look. Oh, train going past. Oh, we can see a little recess just down there, look, just before the canal goes into these narrows, just there. And that's the entrance to this arm. That's the entrance to the Greenland Arm. So let's go around. Let's get on the other side of the canal and have a closer look at that. So here it is then. We're standing here. Look, this little hollow, this little recess where the Greenland Arm left the main line of the Sheffield and Tinsley Canal. We've got some old aerial photos to show you from Britain from above. Sadly, not from the time of the canal's operation. These are from the late 1940s, but there's still a few things to pick out. Now we're here, Broughton Lane Bridge that you can see here, that's no longer there. This was relocated some years ago. And Broughton Lane Station, you can see there, is also long gone. But look, we can see that small recess, and that's the start of the Greenland Arm, as well as the narrows, just like today. And the route of the canal appears to be undeveloped at its far end, but the alignment closest to us does appear to have factories built over it.
Yeah. It's in the right place, and it does seem a bit, I don't know. I mean, we should say we've declared this about 5 or 6 minutes ago to be the entrance to the Greenland Arm. But, you know,
it definitely is on the maps. Yeah.
We're exactly in the right place. Yeah. So to see this physical little corner here, otherwise there's no trace. This may be the only trace of the Greenland Arm.
So we've got this road that's running parallel at the moment to the canal, look. Now if we cycle back on the maps, Calvin, this road that we've got, I don't know the name of this road.
Tinsley Park Road.
Just a dead end road now, isn't it? But if we look back to the earlier maps, 1880s maps, this road's not here and the canal is in one piece. But then if we come back to 1901 or whatever that later map is, this road's here and the canal's severed.
Yeah, so the road's still quite long. It goes quite a way in each direction from where we are now, but it's mostly industrial. Yeah. There's quite a lot of work still going on. A lot of noise coming from the factory buildings, but no one really lives here anymore, but they used to. And this road, it's really very interesting. Around the 1890s, the Greenland Arm appears to no longer be the useful thing it was.
Do we know what year it was severed?
No, we don't. It just
sort of
it just fades from history. And the first change is the cutting off here, the severing that you say. When Tinsley Park Road is built alongside the canal and across the arm, And there was a great row of houses, cottages, that were here until the 1950s, just over to our side, where people's backyard opened right onto the towpath. They had about 7 or 8 feet of towpath between them.
Onto the Greenland Arm?
No, onto the main canal.
Right.
And some great pics of people sort of leaning on the back gate with the water just a few feet away. You wouldn't want to be stumbling back there late at night. But it didn't. But the rest of the canal remains for around 30 years. The arm remains for that time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a case of just closing it and filling it in. It goes in pieces. And this is the first piece.
And it just sat there derelict.
It appears to
turning more overgrown.
It's on maps until the 20s, yeah, and then it gets cut off again. It has a further cut off, so it gets very humiliated later when there's one bit and then there's another bit, you know. And then the final indignity is it being marked on the Ordnance Survey maps as marshland.
We're level here. We stood right in the canal cutting here then, pre 1890s.
We're in the Arm, yeah.
There, and we just say the original Greenland Road is just there. Now that is the original bridge, Broughton Lane Bridge.
Yes.
That was replaced at some point. I think it was the 1980s. That crossed over the canal and then the railway line just here. So we meet the modern day Broughton Lane then here. It's very much a tale of kind of modern urbanisation when we get to this point, because this is a dual carriageway, and we'll see that I'll call it the left-hand carriageway of this now takes what the line of the Greenland Arm was.
Yeah, so it's crossing in the traffic island in the middle. We're pretty much on it now, and it's going across this junction and then roughly running along right on the left-hand side, immediately on the left-hand side of Greenland Road. Greenland Road used to be Greenland Engine Road, because there was a notable industrial machinery here in the I think we're talking first half of the 19th century. So the Greenland engine, I don't know exactly what it was, but it was clearly big enough or loud enough, notable enough to name the road after it.
Maybe a colliery engine or something like that. Yeah.
How it got the name Greenland, I don't know. So we're on the route. You know, the route is where that internet sign is there.
So it's really not a long old canal arm, this one. What is it? It's not even quarter of a mile really, is it?
We can almost see where we started off.
Well, this is the end. This is where it came to, just here. And why we've not discussed really why it was coming to here. Why was this arm in existence?
Yeah, so originally it's a branch line for coal in the area.
Yeah.
But I think while it was here, other industry appears on the map. There's a rope maker here, and I think there's a steelworks down the bottom. I think once the canal arm was here, it did attract some other industry, but originally it was for the small pits that were dotted all around here, and then the industrial tramways come in and maybe take the place of the canal. That may be the explanation for the canal disappearing. The tram would have been quicker and easier. But this Biffa base here is the site of Greenland Farm.
I do see mentioned in a few places there's talks of tramways that come down from various local collieries down to meet this, but I've not actually seen that annotated on any maps though to back that up.
Yeah, there's definitely one behind here over there which went about a mile to Tinsley Park Colliery, the later colliery, I think from the sort of 1850s, 1860s.
That went down to the other main canal. That one.
So that's gone to the canal. So that's run almost parallel to the Greenland Arm. And then we've got the High Hazels colliery lines further up. It's a strange bit. We don't know an awful lot about the Greenland Arm, including when it was last used and when it was finally filled in. It would have been fascinating that it was abandoned here for 20 or 30 years, and it would have just been here, and it just doesn't seem to have attracted anyone's attention.
No.
Not to photograph it, not to record when it was finally filled in.
A bit obscure, a bit of a forgotten cousin.
But at the time, vitally important. And this was the only arm that came off the canal we know. But it's there on the maps for a long time, and it's there gradually disappearing. Cut off once, then cut off twice, and then sort of drying out.
So this is a little interesting spot. This is just a very short walk back towards Tinsley direction from where we've just been filming the Greenland Arm. And this is an old lift bridge that goes over the Sheffield and Tinsley Canal. Look at the other side, and you see we've still got the struts where the bridge would have sat on. So I'm guessing from looking at that, it's currently sat in an upright position if there was a deck on this bridge. fantastic mechanisms on view there, look, and then we can see that there's the large timber beams, look, that stick out from the bank in there. I love these. I love this remain. It's fantastic that this is still here like this.
This is for Peacock Colliery. Yeah, this is which was apparently, it is said that the tram road was over a mile long. Peacock Colliery was near where the airport site, the old Sheffield City airport site was. So it's a bit beyond where we've just walked to. That was there. That's on the 1855 Ordnance Survey map, Peacock Colliery, and it's one of the early ones. One of the ones that became Tinsley Park Colliery when the larger colliery sort of seems to have taken over from the smaller ones. I didn't realise that was amazing. We've only just come a little bit off track, and there's quite a lot still left here.
Yeah, it's a fascinating walk down this canal, to be honest. I probably don't do it. I work at the other end of the canal in town, and the footpaths, towpaths closed at the moment, which is a bit of an inconvenience. But I do like a wander up the canal, but you know, in an hour I can't get this far up and back.
So these are holding up, said that the bridge is wooden, basically. Is that what we're...
Yeah, possibly, yeah, or maybe add some kind of steel deck or fabricated deck that sat on top of the timbers. I've not actually seen any photographs of this. So as always investigating while we're on site, while we're on the move. I think that was a standard gauge railway line coming across there, because if we look at the maps, the tramway that comes down from the collieries, from there, doesn't actually join with this. Now, I thought that it was a continuous line, but it's not. And we can see on the maps, there was a wharf just here, quite a sizable wharf and a dock we can see, and there was coal depot and looks like some kind of transshipping area where they transferred the coal from maybe a narrow gauge line onto the standard gauge line. So yeah, many layers of history. Many layers of history in this little spot.
Fantastic.
So the Greenland Arm, part of the Sheffield and Tinsley original canal setup. Thanks, Calvin. Thanks ever so much for joining me. Don't forget, I'll leave the links to Calvin's page, his Substack, his Facebook. Go and give him a look, because he does some fantastic work and investigative work of some of the hidden history in Sheffield.
Hidden until you find it.
Yeah. So no doubt you'll be seeing me and Calvin doing lots more stuff around Sheffield in the future. So thanks to all my channel members, and anyone who buys me a coffee, sends me a super thanks, however you want to support the channel, buy a little bit of merch. So yeah, thanks very much. We'll see you later. Ta-ra.